Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Friday TGIF and Product Owner episode this week with Annu Paganus. Hey Annu, welcome back.
Thank you. It's Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday, everybody. So Friday is, of course, the Product Owner Day. We'll talk about what great product owners look like in a minute. But Annu, first, share with us potentially the worst product owner anti-pattern you've witnessed in your career.
I would say that maybe that moment when the product owner is not showing that they would be accountable on the role, putting their maybe attention elsewhere and being distant from the team, and still on top of that taking the credits of things what is happening in the team. So, I don't know, maybe that could be considered something that happens when you are not considering yourself as a servant leader, but instead of being the manager or boss, I would say this kind of approach. That's killing all that kind of actions. They would be killing the motivation from the team, because they would see that all the hard work that they are doing to get things working, in spite of the PO, are not even recognized by the PO. So I think that's maybe the worst place to be. Or, I don't know.
Absolutely. You said as if they were the boss or the manager. And I'm thinking, as you say those words, like the best bosses and best managers do exactly the opposite. They pay attention to the team. They help the team succeed. And when the team succeeds, they give them enough credit. They don't take the credit away. This sounds like a combination of anti-patterns. And of course, as Scrum Masters, we do need to help these people no matter what. And that might be difficult. It might feel like something we don't want to do, but we do need to help them. So when you think about these different anti-patterns that you've described, Annu, what do you do as a Scrum Master to help the PO overcome those anti-patterns and, of course, to help the team adapt to that?
I would say that clarifying also the PO role as a servant leader is the first thing to do, really educating the person to. And I would say that there are a lot of internet is full of articles that you can always if you have certain topic, for example, from that specific day that you feel that, okay, this is maybe not the way of working, then you could try to give those to read for the PO, those articles which are really on that topic, to also get a little bit kind of the way of thinking that I'm not saying that you have to do exactly like this, but instead, maybe you could consider this kind of options that there are, and there is this article that is addressing this kind of topic. What do you have in mind for that? What kind of thoughts this brings to you? It's so it's important that we Scrum Masters don't try to tell people to do something very specific things, or you have to do this and that, but instead try to help the person to actually start to think themselves that, okay, so if this is what is expected from me, how should I do it? So I don't know, some kind of skills from Scrum Masters to not to tell people to do stuff, but to make them think themselves and help that thinking and coaching them to go towards the better goals. But I think there's, of course, always the bigger idea what you have to explain. For example, this PO role, that you are not the boss of the team, but you have certain responsibilities, and that's then you have to be very clear that these are your responsibilities. But and explaining that the whole team is supposed to be equal together.
And the PO is part of the team. At least the latest Scrum guide finally acknowledges that the PO is part of the team.
Exactly.
And I think one thing that you mentioned in passing, but I do want to emphasize that we need to show the example, right? Like it's sharing ideas, sharing topics, asking that kind of questions. Have you considered? Like all of that is also showing the PO how to behave with the team, right? It's like don't tell the team what to do, but help them think. You're there to help them think as a PO. You're not there to tell them exactly what to do. Of course, you're going to tell them what the product should be, but not how to develop that product. And that's an important role that we need to take as modeling that behavior towards the team, so that the PO can also learn from just watching us, from just being there around us. That was a set of anti-patterns, some great tips on how to deal with those. And of course, there is the opposite, the great POs out there. So Annu, share with us potentially the best product owner you've ever worked with. How did they work?
I don't know if I can highlight someone very specific, but I would say that that kind of POs who are ready to take feedback and adjust based on the feedback. That's the very basic stuff there that you have to have. That they are keen on getting the feedback and actually doing something. And many times I think what I have heard that people have been giving feedback is that the team seems not to have the overall picture of what is coming in the future with the vision of the product. That's many times hard to see. It's not that POs are not explaining what is in their head, but many times they're thinking about it constantly and it's in their head very clearly. But maybe the rest of the team are not that much thinking about it. It might be like in our world, we have this 3 times a year, this super sprint plannings where we are thinking ahead a little bit for the 4 coming months. So maybe at that point, then the team sees, that's the vision of where we are going. But maybe they don't end up thinking that much during the becoming weeks. So it's really important to also remind the POs and ask them to make it visible for everyone. Somehow make those kind of processes that those things become visible even automatically for the team, that this is where we are going. And we are on regular basis checking where we are. And I think those are the moments where, for example, in our current team, our current PO is doing really well, that we have had these checkups where we are seeing where we are now, what we had plans earlier. This is what we have been doing now. Then taking the customer feedback that we have got. This is what we have got. Is there something that we could do about this right now? Should we adjust our plans based on these? And then seeing that, okay, what others maybe are expecting from us and what are the opportunities that we can take in the near future. But to sit down together and look at these things once in a while, not just PO telling what are the priorities, but we also work together around those priorities, that everybody has some kind of saying on those.
Especially if you're building a cross-functional team, like you mentioned on Wednesday, it's really important to have the opportunity to bring these different ideas to the PO as well, because the team, testers, developers, UX people, designers, they all have a different perspective, and they can bring their perspective on innovation that the PO is, of course, not able to, because he's not been all of those roles before.
Yeah. So there's a lot of expertise in the team if you are working in a cross-functional team. So it's important to it's important that the PO feels that they are supposed to be also asking from the team about the priorities, in that sense, that or ideas or thoughts, that what comes to your mind about this topic. Is there something technically really hard here, or is there some new requirements from the, for example, the brand, how things should look, or something like that. So I think we have had a lot of interesting discussions on these topics, and then we have also noticed that, by the way, we are missing this kind of thing here. so it's I don't know, the working together, the PO's ability to work together with the team is really essential.
Absolutely, and very well said as well. The ability of working together with the team is essential, because it is indeed. Yeah. Annu, it's been a pleasure to have you here this week. Thank you for all the stories and insights you shared with us. But before we go, do share with us, where can we find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
About me? Oh, I'm at least in LinkedIn. So there you can find more about me, and of course contact me through that LinkedIn. That's probably the best way on my side. I'm not
Absolutely. We'll put the link on the show notes, and why not, everybody, ask a few follow-up questions. I'm sure that Annu would be happy to start the conversation. Annu, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you. It's been an interesting opportunity.
One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over, but there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. So join us at scrummasterpodcast.com and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more full week of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.